The 2021 college football season was one of the craziest seasons I have ever experienced as a college football fan. From huge rivalry win streaks being broken to the first group of 5 team to ever make the college football playoff, there was a seemingly endless amount of news to cover on a weekly basis. Last season, there were many teams who underachieved on their preseason expectations, but there were also a bunch of teams who overachieved. Due to this, the rankings for college football looked incredibly different at the end of the season compared to the beginning. As of today, there are less than 2 months until the college football season starts. Although the official preseason rankings don't come out until mid-August, I wanted to go over my preseason rankings for the 2022 college football season. Before I say who number 25 is, I do just want to say what criteria my ratings are based off of. So primarily I'm looking at what they did the year before and what talent they return and or any staff changes to the program. I will also be looking at how I think they're going to do in the 2022 season. And I do just want to say these are just my thoughts, so don't get too offended if your team is ranked lower than where you think they should be. Coming in at number 25 is the USC Trojans. While a lot of the national media has USC ranked much higher to start the year, I'm starting them off in the bottom of the pack. This isn't indicative of how I think they'll play this year. I think they'll end up in the top 10 when all is said and done. However, based on them going 4-8 last year, I don't want to throw them into the top 15 or top 10 without them having completed anything. I do think Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams will bring USC back to at least some semblance of their former glory, but I'm not giving them a pass for last season. At number 24, we have Penn State. Penn State was 12 points away from being 11-2 last year, with close losses to Iowa, Illinois, Michigan, and Michigan State. They fell just short of a truly special season, but instead ended the year in a disappointing fashion with a bowl loss to Arkansas. I think Penn State will have a better year this year with multiple out-of-conference games that should be wins, as well as an easier conference schedule. This should be a year where Penn State is able to crack the top 15 and stay there fairly easily, although James Franklin has had some struggles in the last few years trying to stay elite. Number 23, the Tennessee Volunteers. Tennessee has quietly been on the rise over the last 3 years, and although they had a bumpy year in 2020, their program has been trending up. With Josh Heupel at the helm, they turned around after a bad year and went 7-6 in 2021. Their quarterback, Hendon Hooker, has the tools both internally and around him to put up big numbers, and the defense has a chance to step up significantly from last year. Coming in at number 22, I have the Oregon Ducks. I think Oregon is one of those schools who gets the benefit of the doubt far too often in college football, and this season is looking to be no different. Many of the national outlets have the Ducks easily in the top 15 after a subpar 2021 season where they lost 4 games, including a loss to 3-9 Stanford. After losing 3 of their last 5 games, including getting whacked by Utah twice, Oregon still somehow ended up the season ranked at number 22. Yes, they beat Ohio State in Week 2, which was a great win, but the rest of the year was close wins and bad losses. I expect Oregon to fall out of the rankings after Week 3 and not return the rest of the year. With a new head coach who is not Oregon's first choice, and Bo Nix, who continually struggled at QB at Auburn, I don't have high hopes for Oregon this year. At number 21, I have the Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin finished the 2021 season with a 9-4 record, which, by Wisconsin standards, is a down year. After beating Arizona State in the Vegas Bowl, I believe Paul Chryst will have his players ready to go. Their first real challenge comes in Week 4 versus Ohio State, but if Wisconsin can finish the year with less than 3 losses, I think everybody in Madison is going to be happy. At number 20, I have the Arkansas Razorbacks. Arkansas started the 2021 season as hot as possible, starting off 4-0 with a win versus number 7 Texas A&M, as well as a beatdown of Texas in Week 2. They ended up struggling a bit the rest of the way after being shut out by the eventual college football playoff champions in Georgia, but Sam Pittman returns a lot of talent to his roster and they will have a chance to make a lot of noise in the SEC West this year. At number 19, I have the Utah Utes. The Utes had their best season in program history last year, winning the Pac-12 for the first time and making it to their ever-elusive Rose Bowl. Just about everyone in the national media has Utah in the top 10, if not the top 5, and a lock for the college football playoff. I don't believe last year was that great a year for Utah, nor do I believe they have what it takes to get into the college football playoff this year. Yes, they do have a great coach in Kyle Whittingham and an amazing defensive coordinator in Morgan Scalley, and Cam Rising is being heralded as a Heisman candidate, but to put them in the top 10 or top 5 when they haven't done anything significant is ludicrous. I know they went into the Rose Bowl in 2021, but if you look deeper than that, you see their season was substandard at best. They lost 4 games, including losses to San Diego State and Oregon State. They also lost to an uninterested Ohio State team who sat multiple starters in the Rose Bowl. The Pac-12 was historically weak last year, and I think that shows with Utah being the one who won the conference. At number 18, we have the Utah State Aggies. Utah State had one of the best turnaround years I've seen in a long time last year. Despite one bad blowout loss to Wyoming, Utah State won the Mountain West for the first time ever in head coach Blake Anderson's first year. They had quality losses against BYU and Boise State and beat two Power 5 teams, Washington State in Week 1 and Oregon State in their bowl game. They also finished ranked for the first time since 2018, ending the season ranked number 24. They'll still have most of their returning starters, including quarterback Logan Bonner and all 5 of their offensive linemen. At number 17, I have the Florida Gators. No, Florida didn't do much last year, and Dan Mullen is definitely on the hot seat, but I think the Gators have a bounce-back year this year and finish in the top 15. I don't think they do anything crazy, no college football playoff or New Year's Six game in the cards in my book, but I think they'll have a solid year and secure Mullen's position as head coach for at least one more season. Number 16 is the Pitt Panthers. This is a ranking that I don't expect to last, but with Pitt having won the ACC last year, I felt like it would only be fair to throw them in. The reason I don't expect it to last is mostly because they lost Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is one of, if not the best quarterback in program history. They had a great year in 2021, but I expect them to take a large step back in 2022. Number 15, I have the Michigan State Spartans. Michigan State had one of their best years in recent memory last year, but it was triumphed by Michigan's college football playoff appearance. Although Michigan State went to and won the Peach Bowl versus the aforementioned Pitt team, they still had their struggles along the way. They barely beat Nebraska, barely beat Western Kentucky, almost lost to Indiana, lost to Purdue, and got obliterated by Ohio State 56-7. I think Mel Tucker, while he is overrated, is a good coach, but I think Michigan State has a lot of things to fix before we start heralding them as a college football playoff sleeper. At number 14, I have the Oklahoma Sooners. OU is coming into the season having lost one of the best coaches in the sport in Lincoln Riley. They also lost both of their starting caliber quarterbacks in Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler. They did get a great head coach replacement in Brett Venables and a solid quarterback in Dylan Gabriel, but they have a lot of question marks heading into the 2022 season. Last season, Oklahoma only lost 2 games all year, and both were to the 2 best teams in the Big 12, Baylor and Oklahoma State. Capping off the season with an Alamo Bowl win versus a subpar Oregon team, they have lower expectations than in recent years due to the roster and staff turnover. I expect the Sooners to have another solid year, and they'll probably end the season ranked a little bit higher than number 15. At number 13, I have Cincinnati. The Bearcats had by far their most special season in school history last year. Although they didn't play many great teams, they carried over their successes from prior years and rode that wave into the college football playoff. They were the first G5 team to make the playoff, and the fact that they were able to, 1, score even 6 points on Alabama, and hold Alabama to 27 points on offense is pretty amazing. They ended the year 13-1 and will go down in the books as one of the greatest G5 teams in college football history. I expect them to have a good hold on most of the AAC in their final year as a member of the conference, although they won't be in the college football playoff this next season. At number 12, I have Notre Dame. I'm not sure about putting them this high, but I'm not sure if I can put them any lower. Notre Dame just lost their quarterback and their winningest coach in program history in Brian Kelly. Marcus Freeman has his work cut out for him in South Bend, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the conference expansion talk going around right now ends up getting to the players' heads and distracting them on the field. Notre Dame only lost 1 regular season game last year, which was to Cincy, but they ended the year ranked number 8 after a bowl loss to Oklahoma State. They have a tough schedule this year, and I think they will take a step back with a new head coach and a new starting quarterback. At number 11, I have BYU. BYU has accumulated a record of 21-4 in the last 2 seasons, with wins versus 5 Pac-12 schools and an ACC school. BYU went 5-0 versus the Pac-12, beat a tough UVA team in a shootout, and lost to a very good Baylor team in Waco. They also, however, had 2 ugly losses, one to a then 2-3 Boise State in Provo, and a loss to UAB in their bowl game. BYU reloads with the most returning production of any program in the country, including starting QB Jaron Hall, wide receiver duo Puka Nacua and Gunnar Romney, and a stout offensive line that includes 5-star transfer Kingsley Swamatia and a solid defensive line and defensive secondary. With tough games including Notre Dame, Baylor, and Arkansas, BYU has their work cut out for them, but they have the tools to put together another solid season of independence before entering the Big 12 in 2023. At number 10, I have the Baylor Bears. Baylor is the reigning Big 12 champions and had some great wins last year. With 2 losses, one to Oklahoma State and an upset loss to TCU, Baylor churned through their regular season with wins against teams including BYU, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, and Texas. Baylor brings back most of their production and an excellent coaching staff with Dave Aranda at the helm and offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes in the booth. Their biggest question mark will be at QB after losing Gary Bohannon to the transfer portal. I do expect another solid year from Baylor. The number 9 spot goes to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State had one of the best years they've had in a long time last year, winning 12 games, including a bowl win versus Notre Dame. Mike Gundy seems to have caught a second wind, and they swept through the Big 12 last year, only losing to Iowa State by a field goal and to Baylor in the Big 12 championship, being just 1 yard short of winning the game in the final moments. They return over half of their starters, 7 on offense and 5 on defense, and while that isn't amazing, it should be enough for them to have success comparable to last year. Coming in at number 8, we have the Houston Cougars. Houston had a great year in 2021, going 12-2. They have a seasoned quarterback in Clayton Tune, a veteran head coach in Dana Holgorsen, and are amped up knowing this is their last year in the AAC before joining the Big 12 in 2023. I also have to assume Houston is tired of Cincinnati and UCF dominating the AAC and would like to win the conference one more time before leaving. The number 7 spot goes to the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan has caught a lot of flack from me in the past, primarily because they always seem to underperform compared to their preseason status, but last year broke that streak. Michigan took care of business in almost every game, including ending the streak versus Ohio State. They made the college football playoff for the first time, and they reignited the passion of so many in Ann Arbor. I expect Michigan to have another great year with Jim Harbaugh as head coach and Cade McNamara at QB, although I don't see another college football playoff in the cards for them this year. Coming in at number 6, I have the Ole Miss Rebels. Lane Kiffin has got the Grove cruising, and it doesn't seem like things are slowing down anytime soon. With the addition of USC transfer Jackson Dart and a good amount of production returning, Ole Miss could be setting themselves up for another great year. In such a difficult SEC West division, however, I don't see them going anywhere particularly significant. At number 5, we have the NC State Wolfpack. NC State has been gaining momentum every year for the past few years, and in a weak ACC, they might have the chops to put together a great season. I don't see them anywhere near the college football playoff at the end of the year, but I do think they will surprise some people throughout the year, probably end up in a good New Year's Six game. At number 4, we have Ohio State. I refuse to say the word "the" before Ohio State because it's stupid and it makes no sense. Of course, they're the Ohio State University. There's only one. There's not more than one Ohio State University. Just like San Jose State is technically the San Jose State University. It's stupid. However, Ohio State is setting up for another awesome year with CJ Stroud back at QB, and I think the Buckeyes will go undefeated this year, but I think they fall short in the college football playoff final. Number 3 goes to the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia comes into the year as the incumbent college football playoff champion, which broke a drought that had been in place since 1980, which was the last time Georgia won a national championship. They'll return starting quarterback Stetson Bennett and should have another unbreakable defense. Kirby Smart knows what he's doing, and the Dogs should be rolling again this year. I would not be surprised to see UGA in the college football playoff final again in January. At number 2, we have the Alabama Crimson Tide. Nick Saban is the greatest coach in college football history. His team will always be one of, if not the best team in college football in any given year. We can expect Bryce Young to put up more big numbers, another unknown receiver to break onto the national stage, and Alabama to be in the college football playoff again. There's not really much more you can say about Alabama. They're kind of like Thanos. They're inevitable, and no matter what you do to try to stop them, they find a way to piss everyone off. Coming in at number 1 on my preseason top 25 is the Texas A&M Aggies. A&M had a solid year last year, with Jimbo Fisher becoming the first protege of Nick Saban to beat him, and although Kirby Smart did do it as well in the college football playoff final, Jimbo was able to do that first. Jimbo has put together multiple solid recruiting classes, and I think this could be the year everything fits together. I expect A&M to make the playoff for the first time this year, and we very well could be seeing the college football playoff trophy in College Station at the end of the year. That's going to be all for today, so if you guys liked the video, make sure to go ahead and like and subscribe. And, let me know in the comments, who did you think was ranked too high? Who did you think was ranked too low? Who did I leave out? Who shouldn't have been in the rankings at all? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks. Bye.